If you keep yourself emotionally detached, perhaps you'll never be a good teacher or a good principal. These are people who still carry a ray of hope for the whole society as such. It's actually Bernard Shaw who said this: life is a stage and we are all actors here.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Seema Choria and I bring to you another exciting episode on Great Principles. Today we bring you a celebrated figure from the world of Indian academia, Mrs. Suchita Malakar, Principal, Poddar International School, Powai. We all have heard those umpteen times and I agree, teacher is the second mother and mother is the second teacher. Like mothers, teachers are inspirational and selfless. They both are emotionally involved in the betterment of their wards and constantly look to influence reforms that benefit all. My guest today is one such mother who realized that both roles are intertwined. She chose to become an academician post motherhood. From being a teacher, she today leads one of the most reputed schools in Mumbai. Come, let us know more about this inspirational educationist journey. Please welcome Ms. Suchita Malakar, Principal, Poddar International School, Powai. Welcome to Great Principles, ma'am. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Seema. It's a pleasure for me as well to be a part of your initiative with Great Principles, and I look forward to having a great discussion with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So, as I introduced you, and let's start from where it all began. So, once upon a time, you are a mother and you chose to be in the role of an educator too. And we all know that mother's heart, just melts seeing a child crying or, even if the child is sad. So, tell me, ma'am, how do you manage to keep your emotions at bay and be judicious as a school head?
Well, Seema, what I realized down the line is if you keep yourself emotionally detached, perhaps you'll never be a good teacher or a good principal. Because I have a long journey behind me, perhaps spanning around 25 years now, wherein I moved from different kinds of schools, variety of schools. I started with Army public schools. I was with Kendriya Vidyalayas at one point of time, Delhi public schools. And today I am with the international curriculum. So you can quite understand the kind of students do differ with every different environment that the person is. But I realize there's one thing which is very common between every student, and that is the kind of bonding that you can create with them. You can give them that comfortable space. That is very important. That is when the student will actually reach out to you, be it with their personal problems as well as the academic problems. And I always guide my teachers even in this aspect. See, in today's fast paced world, you too will realize there are times where a parent cannot give that much of time, devote that much of time to a student. So it is imperative that the teacher is so connected with the student that the student feels absolutely at ease to even share their personal problems. And that's the kind of an environment my schools have created and I have created for myself as well.
Amazing, man. This is what is required. Today, children need more of mentors, those who can understand them. They look up their teachers as someone who will understand them better even than their parents. At times, they share a lot of things with the teachers. And if this kind of mentoring is there, then the children are very much open to learning also. Then they open their heart for everything. Yes, amazing, wonderful work being done here at this school where children are emotionally connected. And it is said when a teacher connects with the teacher, student emotionally, that is when magic happens.
Thank you so much.
Going ahead, ma'am, successful leaders have a team built them that believes in them and support their visions also. So, ma'am, I would like to ask you, what qualities do you emphasize on in your teachers to be excellent at their work?
Well, when it comes to teaching, first and foremost, I feel you should be absolutely passionate about what you're doing. because it's finally going to somewhere percolate down to the lowest level, as we said, to the students in our case, if that kind of passion is there. So it is very important that they take up their job with meticulousness, but at the same time, do not make it a job per se, because our profession is such, it's the same like the medical profession. If you kind of keep calculating the kind of hours you're putting in, the kind of remuneration you're getting, the kind of well comfort level that you are in, you will always be unsuccessful and you will always be unhappy yourself. Not that I'm saying we belong to a profession where we do not need to be paid at all. That's not my way of looking at it. But my way is, let us not always calculate our hours and the amount of job that we are doing. See, even this pandemic has taught us more than anything else. I always believe is the teachers were the first people to let everybody into their homes. It was not easy for them. See, there have been teachers in such kind of backgrounds. I have at times interviewed teachers. I can see the kind of settings that they have, but they find a corner for themselves because they know that they have to reach out to their audience. So they were the first ones to let their parents into their homes. So somewhere that is only because of the kind of passion they showed about their jobs. Then talking about my grade one students, let us realize the pandemic was a platform where the grade one had just moved in from the pre-primary. A 2-hour school was moving into a 4-hour school on the online platform. And these children were not used to their teachers. They were not used to sitting for so many hours. But how did the teacher build that kind of a relation with her students? It was only because when she created that emotional aspect with her students that she could reach out to them. Secondly is learning. Learning for me, for everybody should be a hobby. See, when you make yourself too, when you are somewhere overwhelmed with the idea of learning something, it's never going to be an easy task for you. But if you take it as a hobby, like I tell every teacher of mine, when you enter a classroom, take in lot of extra with you. You don't have to just take in what is there in that textbook, because that is not what the children are coming for. The children are coming for a lot beyond the textbook, from your real life experiences, from your experiences of delving deep into the concepts. So these are things that have to move into a classroom. So I always feel it is very important that a teacher actually thinks beyond merely going into the classroom with her subject. That should be her motto in a classroom, I feel.
Certainly, ma'am, so we need teachers, those who are passionate and lifelong learners. And that is when, because teachers' role, as you mentioned, is like doctors. You also shape lives. They save lives and you shape lives. So, when we shape life for someone, we are actually saving their lives. So, this is where the teacher's role is the most crucial one in shaping not only the child, but in fact, shaping the entire nation ahead. It is a profession which builds other professions. So the kind of passion which is required here has to be, at the epitome of it. Going ahead, ma'am. Ma'am, do you remember of any such anecdote that still makes you smile in your journey? There have been a lot of recognitions and a lot of applause for you. So which is that episode which you're very fond of?
In fact, just when I was speaking to you, I recollected this incident. I as a teacher, I was with one of the branded schools in Mumbai itself. And there, as I was teaching my subject being English, and I was, I think, with grade 7 at that time, 6 or 7, I was the class teacher with them. There was this child who would rarely, look me into the eye, and he would shy himself. He would keep away from others. But again, he would often get violent with his peers and his counterparts. So it was a little difficult situation. So I always believe that if you can get a child out of the crowd and counsel him, try to understand what he is going through, it becomes easier for you to handle whatever problem is surfacing out there. So I got this child out during the break time. I told him, come to my staff room. So he came. I took him to one of the empty classes. And then I told him, Beta, why do you do this? Like what children don't like, why do you kind of indulge in activities which irritates them? So, and I started talking to him. Even I have sons. Those days, my sons also would have been a couple of years older to him. So I said, I have sons your age, and it's like that. And I got him talking. Oh my God, this child who hardly ever spoke, he suddenly tells me, ma'am, I'm scared of my driver. So I really didn't know what was, I didn't know how to react because it was something quite uncanny for me. So I said, what happened? What is wrong with your driver? So he said, I don't like being with my driver. So I said, why? What does he do? That I feel very scared of him. So then I told him, haven't you told you? I said, what does he do? I believe he was being sexually molested by this driver of his. So I said, why didn't you share with your parents? So he says, no, ma'am, I told my father. My father has now removed the driver, but the driver comes to my building and lurks somewhere down. Now, see, these are things coming from a child. You don't even know whether it's true or not. To be very honest with you, because children sometimes can make up stories like that, and reaching out to a parent on this basis is also sometimes might not be taken well with the parent. However, I called the mother, I requested her to meet up with me. And then, before this, actually, how it started was the mother got back to me and told me, ma'am, he writes all over the walls, I want to kill myself. So that is when she told me that, ma'am, what is happening? Is something happening in school? And that's how the whole episode actually started. And then when I tried getting out the story from him, this is what came out. So I believe the driver was removed, but he still kept lurking around the building. Now I called the mother and then I told her, see, ma'am, I really don't know whether it's true or whatever, but your child, this is what he fears and he requires that kind of emotional support. And please don't scold him, but take him to a counselor, somebody who could really help what the child is going through. And that was my last year in the school. I actually moved out. I took up a school. I took up a school which was closer to my place. And suddenly, I don't know how she got my number. A year later, on my birthday, she calls me up and she tells me, it was an unknown number. And in those days, we were on the landlines more. She called me on my landline, ma'am, I'm so and so. And I still cannot believe, I remember the child's name was Karthik. Remember how Karthik adored you and admired you. And it was such a shocking incident for me because the child was somebody who would never even look you in the eye when he spoke, that kind. So I will never be able to thank you enough for what you have done for me in life. So these are small incidences. In fact, this is what I'm trying to tell you when I tell you, if the teacher doesn't reach out to a child, the child will never be in a comfortable setting when he's outside his home in a school environment. So, well, these are important things. And one of the incidents I can mention.
I was kind of getting goosebumps when I was hearing this entire story where, how Karthik built himself. What happens, ma'am, many a times, we parents aren't aware. As you said, at times children just try to give excuses or try to make up stories. So this is something wherein, teachers help us out. No, there is actually a problem. And we all need this, to make our children emotionally strong. There is need for mindfulness today. We need to have sessions with the children, where they practice all the mindfulness. Such a small child talking about it, I will kill myself. That's something, which is how emotionally disturbed that child is. And when parent cannot figure it out, it's the teachers, because after home, it's a place where the child spends most of the time. The entire thing, I can relate it so much. We parents are at times so unaware of what is happening with the child.
In fact, Seema, that's the reason my school has a separate mindfulness practice. We have a period devoted to mindfulness in every classroom. And in that, we have a kind of a circle time too, where every child would like to speak about themselves, sometimes only positive, because see, too much of negativity breeding around in this world is also harming the younger lot. So every time to make them positive, we need to let them vent themselves out and look for the good in themselves as well as others. These kind of activities are very important in any school, I feel today.
Absolutely, ma'am. And this should be practiced by each and every school. A mindfulness session should be there. And yeah, we all, we just keep telling our children world is very harsh outside. Everything is bad. It's important to show them the good in the world too. Certainly, ma'am. So I think this is a good takeaway that every school and every parent must practice with their children, spend time, let them talk to you, practice mindfulness, which will help a lot for shaping them a better, because emotionally disturbed child can't focus on his own skills. He's lost somewhere, and then then we say, what happened? You were such a bright child, what happened to you? So this entire thing very beautifully put up by ma'am, and how a teacher, a parent, when they partner together, how can we save our children? So this is something where parent teacher partnership also comes into picture, schools comes into picture, children comes into picture. The entire triangle is what needs to be taken care of. So wonderful answer, amazing insights on this. Going ahead to our conversation, ma'am, in this long journey that you have covered as an educator, ma'am, whom do you uphold as a high esteem as an educator? Because in this journey, I'm sure there may be times when you are looking up to someone who can guide you, help you out in tough times.
Well, Seema, if you ask me, somebody mentoring you or educating you does not always have to be from your field. I always feel there are so many people around this world. If you keep watching, you will be mentored by so many things. In fact, in this long journey, I could not pick out on one person, be it even my coordinator today. She's one of the softest ladies I've ever come across, and somebody who generally people fall in love with. So I always tell her, how do you get this demeanor of yours where she never loses her cool? So I always feel there is a takeaway from every person. And that is very important. I think as we grow older, we realize that. We have never somewhere looked up to only one individual. But there have been so many individuals you have seen plus points. Sometimes even, yes, you have seen a minus point where you feel I should not do such a thing from somebody. So well, and one of the people who have inspired me a lot, I could say this is actually my father. My father happened to be a cardiologist, and today what I am telling you about passion was actually to see that man passionate about his job, be it from the lowest rung of the people of society. He used to ensure that he was also attached to a charitable hospital, and his heart used to always live in that hospital rather than his clinic. Because he used to always talk about people come from that part of the society where they could not even afford medicines. So he would think of medicines which would be cheap for them, and he would write it down for them. He would often even give money to them to buy their medicines. So that is the kind of a person that I actually worship, and I feel that these are people who still carry a ray of hope for the whole society as such. Otherwise, we do see so much of connivance, people, so much of malice. It's like a rat race today. Somebody was the other day talking about crabs going up a rock. Each crab tries to pull the other crab down. That's the way a crab net is. So I was just thinking that's the way the world has also become today. But in this world itself, there are so many people who come out of the way to do so much for others, and that is amazing. But it beat anybody. Even if you ask me, my Didi outside, the first person, by the way, who wishes on my birthday strangely is the driver. I enter the car in the morning, and I'm always amazed how he remembers my birthday. And my birthday is on January 29. And one day I actually asked him, he's been with me for years together now. I asked him, आपको कैसे मेरा जन्मदिन, he'll always tell me, Madam जन्मदिन मुबारक हो. I said, कैसे याद रहता है? I used to wonder. So then he's telling me, जैसे ही 26 जनवरी आता है, मैडम मैं याद कर लेता हूँ कि अभी मैडम का जन्मदिन आने वाला है. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. There are so many people who actually sometimes you admire and you feel that there is a connection which is far beyond what is your professional connection as well. So that's how I look at life anyway.
So true, ma'am. I really love the point where you mentioned, that inspiration is all around us. Every person inspires us if we keep our mind open to it. At times we're so lost in our own thoughts and we think that
Absolutely.
there are people those who have this sense of achievement that I've achieved this much in life. But there is so much to learn everywhere. So to all my dear viewers, inspiration is all around us. Are you willing to take it up? Are you willing to accept it? So be accountable for your own actions and take inspirations from others. That is what is going to change your life ahead. So on this wonderful note, we reach to interesting segment of the show, which is called rapid fire round. Here, ma'am, you have to answer in one word or maximum a sentence, right? So ready, everybody? We will be revealing some fun facts about ma'am. Here goes the first question. You spend your recreational time indulging in activities like?
Pulling my children's legs. That's something. I said pulling my children's legs, my own son's legs. That's something which I really enjoy because I keep on, trying to find something funny with them, and then they get irritated. Then they say, "Mama, can we change the topic?" So it's like that. I love my time with my sons.
All right. Next question. Your favorite Shakespeare quote?
Well, I am an English postgraduate, but at the moment, it's actually Bernard Shaw who said this: "Life is a stage, and we are all actors here." So that's something I would rather quote. I believe in.
Going to the next question. Gardening. What does it mean to you?
Gardening. Well, gardening is actually something that I look forward to beyond my professional and personal self, because I realize that is the time when you actually see a life grow. For me, my plant dying, I am an avid gardener. And with my little pots only, whatever, in a place like Mumbai, I can't afford to have a huge garden, but then I have a number of pots. And even a plant dying or a plant, coming up and blooming is like my lifeline. So gardening is my life.
All right. So wonderful. Gardening is a lifeline to ma'am. Now, next question. If you win a free ticket to any one place on this planet, where would you love to travel?
Currently, Mars.
Sorry?
Mars.
Mars?
The planet, yes.
And what about this planet, a beautiful Earth? Where would you like to travel?
You're also talking about Earth. Okay. The place that I am looking forward to traveling every time is Kashmir at the moment, because that is strangely one of the only states in India I have not visited till date. Because every time I came up with the idea of visiting, for some reason we never managed to do that. So the day I actually visit Kashmir, I can say I've seen the whole of India. That's the way it is.
Definitely, Kashmir being the crown of India, it's one of the loved destination. Going ahead to the last question, vada pav or thali pit, which is your favorite dish?
Since I am a Mumbaikar, vada pav is my favorite dish, and that's what I look forward to everywhere.
Amazing. It was really fun to know you in this segment. This brings to me to the last question of the show, which is called Viewer's Choice Question. Our viewers keep on sending us many questions that they would like to know from you. So this one we have picked for you. Are working parents from nuclear families really involved in their children's lives? What are your tips for them? What would you like to share to the parents of nuclear families?
Seema, it is not that they aren't involved at all. See, I find two kind of parentings amongst working parents. One who want to be involved but they can't be involved, and one, yes, somewhere down the line the connection with their children are lost as the child grows up. But my tips to such parents is, see, it's not easy to work as well as look after the family. We will all agree to that fact. But what I feel is, if you set your priorities right, if you know how much I want to be involved, you keep yourself, your timings properly, calculated when you're going to spend time with your child. Like, I have had parents who have come and told me that, ma'am, how much of my involvement will be required in academics? Well, that's a usual question parents do ask, because we are working parents. We do not see the child. When we come, the child is asleep. When he wakes up, we are sleeping, and the child leaves the house. Well, for me, honestly speaking, if this is kind of parenting, then it is alarming. So what I feel is, how much ever you are working, the schedule has to be set, the priorities have to be set, where even say the child goes to bed at 9 o'clock, you as a parent, either of you, be it the husband or the wife, the father or the mother, have to make sure that they are at least 2 hours before the child's bedtime back home, or at least, if not possible at all, 1 hour before the bedtime. Spend some quality time with the child, making a conscious effort to be with the child. That is very important. Secondly, trying to understand your child at every point of time. See, even I was a working parent, maybe my timings were reasonably convenient. But I remember when I used to, my children studied in a different school than the one I was a principal with. Now they are grown up, both my sons. So when I used to go back home, my husband was those days working in Nigeria. So I used to ring the bell. This younger son of mine, I still remember, he would come running. First, you could hear his, feet tapping, pit, 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 to open the door. And that was a moment I used to, my heart used to literally bleed. Matlab, that child was waiting for me eagerly, just like a little dog. He comes running, when they hear the doorbell. So that these are the kind of emotions that grow in a child through the younger years. So it is very important that you are there for them. They might know that mama comes in at 7 o'clock in the evening and that's her timing, but they should look forward to your arrival, because after that, how much of quality time you spend with them is very important. Then you should know their schedule in life. I have had parents who have come and told me that the child was sleeping in the class. The mother tells me, ma'am, actually, he has this habit of being late in the night on his computer and all that. So, and he keeps the door closed. So I said, why do you keep your door closed? Let him keep the door open. No, ma'am, the dog disturbs him. So, everything was like a family where you are not bothered about what is happening with the child. There has to be a way by which the dog does not disturb him. He should sleep well in time. He should be available in my classroom, bright and fresh. So that is certain, responsibilities that as a parent, you have to take meticulously. So it is something, there are no two ways about it, but it can be done only if you structure yourself well. See, if you give it up and say that, okay, it's okay, he will manage his own self. Because I realized today, I told you, I have a 27-year-old and I have a 22-year-old. So even today, they want to be told what to have for breakfast, what to have. I do write a small chit income if they don't wake up. So, what they're going to have for breakfast and that kind. So, what I'm trying to say is, maybe somewhere just organize yourself, keeping yourself ready for your child's the whole day plan. That is important.
Certainly, ma'am. When I think when anyone takes a decision to be a parent, they need to make a conscious effort on parenting, because the little life looks up to us as parents
Absolutely.
for everything. And when we are not giving them the required time, it's not about quantity, it's about the quality time, as you very rightly said. They don't want, n number of hours. They just want that quality time with you, and that is what keeps you connected. So I think that is the whole key. We all have 24 hours in a day. It's how do we manage?
How do
Even if
you?
it seems that I don't have time, we actually pull out time for everything. It's only that with the children we try to make excuse. So That shouldn't be there. Definitely no, a big no for that. So to all my dear parents, even if you're working, and I think every working mother like me also, we all have this guilt in our mind. Maybe I could have spent just extra minute with my child. So don't let this guilt, come over to you. Make a conscious effort, structure your time as ma'am mentioned, and that is where you will be able to have a win-win situation both at work and home and to the wonderful life that you're shaping. He absolutely looks up to you. So what an amazingly insightful conversation we had today, ma'am. I enjoyed every bit of it. It was such a delight to hear you.
Thank you.
So much, insights you have given us. So many tips for our parents, for our children, for schools. So it was really wonderful. And I have understood one thing that we all should, after this conversation, we all should appreciate the smallest efforts being taken by our teachers. We as parents should appreciate that. So that our children learns to appreciate. So what an amazing conversation we had today. It was absolutely delightful to have you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Seema. Even in fact, it was such a candid conversation that I could speak my heart out because your questions were not pertaining to anything which was extremely professional, but something which is very close to my heart. Because as a principal, I always feel there's a lot of mentoring for teachers as well as parents. So as well as students. So it's like a whole 360 degree that we need to work. And when that's the way it is. Thanks so much.